So, if you are watching live, send in all of your horticultural questions because we are joined by Tom Michael Smith, but you're actually known as Michael.
Mike.
Now, how did we... Well, we met through Thomas.
We met at Southport Flower Show.
And you and Thomas met at the Southport Flower Show, didn't you?
Yeah. Just won gold medal for our display at Southport, and Thomas came along and stripped our stand of all the veg. Basically, he was eating it all on the stand.
For people that don't know, the single word to describe Thomas is whirlwind, tornado.
Well, it looked like that once he'd been through the garden, that's for sure.
Well, listen, we are live, and we'll be on our podcast. So we are back live, NPK podcast, episode 90. 90 episodes, and we are joined by...
This is the first time we're fruit and veg.
This is the first time we've done fruit and veg. We've never had somebody that can deliver such knowledge as you, Michael.
I don't expect too much.
Well, we're joined by Thomas Michael Smith from Tom Smith Plants. Check out the website if you're listening, and you'll be able to see the type of arrangements of fruits and vegetables that he does, and it's very, very impressive. It's an honour and a pleasure to have you come on this podcast.
It's great to be here. It's great to work with NPK.
The reason that we wanted to get you on the show is obviously because of your knowledge on fruit, specifically fruit growing and veg growing, but also because you're making a transition from traditional growing methods to hydroponics, and you're actually really impressed by the use of hydroponics for growing fruit and veg, aren't you?
Yes, well, for the last 7 years, I've been doing for 7 years now, I've always used a composter growing. Struggled with different types of compost. Now we've got it, I think, sorted out, and we're actually using compost now which actually suit our needs. But I think the poor public, what they're buying and what they're using as compost to start with, they're wasting the time. You hear it all the time. They go to the local DIY store with 2 letters. I don't think you have to say any more than that. And they're just buying this recycled rubbish. Well, plants aren't going to grow in that. It's like I said to you before, it's like having your own bed. Would you like to lie in a bed that's cold, miserable, lumpy and bumpy, full of rotting down matter? Or would you prefer to lie in a lovely bed of lovely fresh compost, which is what the professionals use?
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
So before what we're going to talk, we could have a little chat about composting. For anyone that wants to get into making their own compost, we can have a little chat about that. Yeah. I want to get into basically tell us a little bit about yourself. So how long have you been growing for in competitions, and then but just since ever? When did you first get into it?
As a child, we had a large vegetable garden, so vegetables were a thing that we were always encouraged to grow. And I think it used to be in the 1960s, 70s. It was a social thing. Come Good Friday, everybody was out in their garden planting their spuds. It was just a common thing. Yeah. We all the neighbours were leaning over the fence talking to one another. So it was a social thing. I can't remember really going out as a child. It was always in the garden. Yeah. So from a very early age, being involved with growing. One of the earliest memories I got for showing is a friend of ours, Josh Parry, his name was, from North Wales, and for the first time I'd seen him, competition parsnips grown. Well, he pulled these 3 parsnips to make his set of 3 for the display, and he pulled one of them, and the taproot broke. Well, the language was unbelievable. So it was an education for the language point of view. Yeah. But then he was trying to glue it together and put pins in it and everything. It was to watch. It was absolutely hilarious.
This competition growing some serious business, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and I find the smaller the show, the more competitive it is. Yeah. When we used to do the small shows, you used to hear of people nipping off the taproots of the competitors. I think, and you get to national level, which is Malvern's and other world, and everybody's so friendly. And when I went to Chelsea for the first time this year, everybody was helping one another, and it was like a family there. Yeah. So it's the smaller shows that are the really competitive ones, which is funny enough.
Yeah, because they all know each other, and Jimmy from round the corner's got a bigger turnip than I've got, so you get the little knife in there, take some of them pounds off that turnip. Competition growing?
Competition, it's 7 years this year. Next year will be our 8th year of growing competitively.
And what is involved in growing competitively? What is it that you grow?
Well, first of all, you've got to have the time to do it. Mm-hmm. It does take an awful lot of time. You have to select what you want to grow and what you want to perfect. for the first couple of years, I kept away from onions and leeks and everything because, A, the cost of growing them is quite expensive. To get the right medium and get the right growing conditions and everything, it does put an awful lot of effort in. And you're competing against some really big names in the game. So we kept away from them. And over the last 5 years, gone more into the leeks and onions and enjoy growing them. But yeah, other things we grow: tomatoes, potatoes, something else, cucumbers, anything really that's a bit of colour. Yeah. We grow it.
You've got the website on tomsmithplants.com, so you can check out the pictures there. Mark, hello mate. Good to see you on here.
But who's got the biggest spuds? Chris. The actual spud grower, the actual potato grower that we all have to compete against is Sherry Plum. Look up Sherry Plum. Now she grows some incredible potatoes. And she's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We all try to compete against her. But she grows a potato called Winston. That's her favourite.
Winston.
Flavour's crap. Tastes like crap, but it looks good on the bench.
Yeah. Where's she based?
Kent.
Okay.
But she's the top grower with potatoes. Also, she grows runner beans. And Sherry Plum's runner beans are something to be impressed by.
Yeah. The biggest achievement so far with your competitions, what would that be? What would you say is the pinnacle so far?
It's got to be Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea this year, to get to Chelsea was unbelievable. The story of getting there was, I can't even believe now that we've actually done Chelsea. And the most unbelievable thing of all, been re-invited back. So we're doing it again next year. So all the paperwork's gone through now and we're doing it.
So it's official.
It's official now. We can actually admit that we're actually doing it.
So we are, and that's in May 2017 is the actual show,
yeah,
isn't it?
That's it.
And you are in the campus, and what's it say on the door? Because that was really impressed me. As you walk in, and it's got the big letters above the door, the top 100 growers in the the UK or the world.
The world.
It's nice to be in that.
Yeah, when the actual RHS launch it, they say the top 100 growers in the world will be exhibiting in the Great Floral Marquee. It's like, wow. That is for me that's everything.
Gary's asked, what cucumber do you recommend for size, which is also good for eating?
Carmen.
No,
there's nothing. Carmen is the best one for growing.
And Mark Shepherd says Peter Glazebrook is the king of spuds.
I've never known him being called the king of spuds. I know he does the giant onions.
Yeah,
and the giant carrots and things like that. He's the giant veg guy, along with Ian Neal.
Yeah. So, Mark, are we creating a little bit of competition here? You putting Peter Glazebrook's name against Sherry Plum? Bit of competition for Sherry, possibly.
Totally different thing. Growing for size, the giant veg guys against what we do, and that's how would you describe it? Quality veg.
Yeah.
You do a collection of 3 or 5 parsnips, all got to be the same size. That is an art. That is.
Yeah.
Growing one off of something where it's the biggest is a challenge, but trying to get 5 the same size, that's even worse. Now, runner beans, I think it was 18 runner beans in a collection.
Yeah.
You try and grow 18 runner beans the same length.
And were they all off the same plant, or she's done a selection of plants?
You grow umpteen plants, and it's strange with runner beans. I've tried it myself. I got 5th in the national championships of runner beans for the first time. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And you'll put runner beans in, you might put 30 beans in a row, and you'll find that 2 or 3 plants give you the quality beans, and the others just don't give the quality.
Yeah, just all down to the genetics.
And it's just those 3 bean plants that will give you what you want. It's strange. You think they'd be spread about, but no, not at all.
Yeah, Mark's come back and said Peter's all about the giant spuds, and Sherry, he must know Sherry's all about the quality spuds.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So maybe we'll have... Listen, we haven't even got started yet. Just you wait till NPK starts growing giant veg.
Oh, it's going to be a laugh, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's going to be some real fun then.
Kevin's
going to get worried already, I think.
I can hear them boots rattling as we speak. Bean phenos. Yeah, the phenotypes. So it's all about the genetics, really, isn't it, to get the best stuff. Now, at Chelsea, we said that was your biggest achievement.
Yeah.
And you actually won the silver gilt at that, didn't you?
For my first attempt, yes.
For your first attempt. And that is against how many people were in
Well,
Chelsea?
the thing is, with Chelsea, you're not competing against each other. You're competing against the judge.
Yeah.
So you could have all 100 exhibitors having silver gilt medal.
Yeah.
Or all 100 having gold, or whatever.
Or nobody gets a silver gilt because it just wasn't good enough.
Well, there's silver gilt, and under silver gilt you got silver.
Yeah.
Then under that you got bronze. Then under bronze you got a letter, and the letter basically don't bother coming back again. So you don't want the letter. You don't want the, no matter what happens, you do not want the letter
So
from
if
the
anybody
RHS.
approaches me at Chelsea with a letter, just run away
Oh, you just
from
run
them.
away, yes. You said, not from me. So return to sender on that one.
Yeah. I just want to stress again, make sure you go and have a look at these displays on tomsmithplants.com, because the displays are phenomenal, and it's not just about growing at Chelsea. You've actually got to have an artistic flair by arranging these
That's
fruits and
right.
vegetables.
It's all about exhibiting them as well.
Yeah.
So they look nice. You've got to make it look as if it's been there for 20 years, basically.
To be honest, they didn't look real. They looked like they've
Like
been
plastic.
plastic manufactured.
Well, we don't tell anybody, but they should. No, but they are all real. They're grown at home. And the worst part is, of course, the logistics getting them down there.
Yeah.
I live in North Wales. Then the wagon arrives to take them all down, and oh my God.
Stressful times.
It's stressful times.
Yeah.
But next year we'll do something different. We're going to put the silica feed in all the plants.
You just give away our top secrets.
Well, that's what we're going to use, because when we discuss it, it's a no-brainer. It increases the strength wall, so the plants are stronger.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to resist the transport.
So if you've been watching this and you are a competition grower, that is the top tip of today. Using silica, like Michael said, increases the strength of the cell wall, allows the water to be retained for a lot longer, so they're going to look a lot fresher for a lot longer and allow you to get to the show on time. So silica, and you know, it's all, everybody knows that's my favourite element that we grow with, and it's not even technically an essential element.
No,
You don't need it to grow plants, but in my opinion it's one of the best.
Another one I use an awful lot is rock dust as well in the mixes.
What does that do?
It gives all the trace elements into compost. So when I make a mix, when I do an onion mix, I grow onions in compost.
Yeah.
In these root pruning pots. And basically, I put a handful of rock dust in the mix with the compost. And it just gives those trace elements, the boron, the calcium, everything, just what the plant needs. We're getting better results for that.
Okay. Wait, is that like a volcanic
It's
dust?
volcanic rock dust.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're getting a little boost of trace minerals.
Yeah, people don't realise the soil's taken millions of years to get what they got in the garden. It doesn't happen overnight. It's ground down rock, basically.
Yeah, exactly what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
All the organic stuff.
And by growing a lot, we're losing the trace elements.
Gary's just said,
What?
Shh, stop this now, Michael, because you're giving away everybody's inner secrets, trade secrets that people are using. So that was to the silver gilt, and we actually, because of Chelsea, you start your season a lot earlier. So your growing season's already started.
We've
hasn't
already
it?
started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we've got stuff growing hydroponically. We've done it for the first time. So hopefully a lot less stress than last year.
Yeah.
'Cause
How did you do this last year? Because we are hydroponics and we have a little dabble with traditional methods, because it's good just to go back to old methods now and again and have an experiment with it. But when we grow in the winter, it's hydroponics 100%, artificial lighting. What did you do last year to get through it?
The big thing we do for all our growing, we use a calendar.
Yeah.
So we look at the date of the actual show, and then we look at when we're going to sow. So what we do, like the basic one for me is peas. 92 days from the show, we will sow our peas, because it takes 92 days from sowing to cropping.
Okay.
So that's the first thing we do. Then we look at different crops, what we're going to put in. So broad beans don't take as long. So they're on about 80 days. So we're planting plants in at different stages. So we might look at the 92 days and say, we'll put 20 peas in 2 weeks before, 20 peas in 1 week before, and we'll stagger the growing. Now for Chelsea, what you find when it comes to the date, the 92 days, yes, you'll have your 92-day peas growing up the canes, but what you find is when peas come into pod, the lower leaves of a pea plant always go brown. They always start to die off, because all the nutrients are going to produce the seed, which is the peas. So what we do then is we take all those brown leaves off, and we have younger plants growing, which we plant in the bottom. So they will start climbing up what has gone brown to try and disguise the fact that the plants are now producing and going over. So it's a little bit of artistry.
Yeah, exactly, definitely.
But that's how we do it.
Now, there's going to be, I think, a challenge because hydroponics grows fruits and vegetables a lot quicker.
Yes.
So this 92 days could become 88 days.
Well, has anybody grown peas hydroponically?
If anyone has grown peas hydroponically, you need to send us a message. I think Gary and Mark, they're two other lads. So Gary and Mark, Geordie Giant Veg, and Mark Shepherd is Mark's Allotment. So you check them out on YouTube if you're interested in the vegetables and the fruits. So have you done anything with peas hydroponically? I haven't.
I've never done it before.
So message us if you've sent us a little message on how you've done it, and was it quicker? Because I think it leads on to our next question of, we'll find out what 2017 has got in store for you in a minute, but leading on to the next question is, what equipment have you been using from the hydroponics industry? And the main one is the Extreme Propagator, isn't it?
Extreme Propagator is incredible. It's a real piece of kit, that is. And especially with the lights on top, it's been absolutely brilliant. I can't say enough about it, really. Great success with that. The Gavita lights have been on since the day they arrived.
Yeah.
We've got them on a 12-hour cycle. So every 12 hours they go off, thank God, because electric bills going out of hand. And then we had the light from you the other week, the corn light.
Yeah, the corn cob LED.
Wow. The seedlings are loving it. The chilies I planted really came in well, the plants under the corn LED. That is incredible, the difference they've made. That's the big one. The tent was a completely new system for us. We've never grown in a tent before. So
is that helping you control the temperatures a little bit, because we're getting into the depths of winter?
It's in the house.
Yeah. So is it?
So I'm growing in the house.
Yeah.
So never been in that situation before. So although Alison's not very impressed.
I can imagine.
I send her in to hoover the tent out now and again. So she's got the job of watering, and she's getting used to it now. So
she ends up coming to like it. And then when you say, right, it's time for the tent to go, I bet you it's Alison saying, well, actually, I quite like it.
Well, the biggest problem is because it's so warm in there and so comfortable. That if I got kicked out and into the tent, she'd know I'd be better looked after in there than it would be in there.
Well, it'd be hoovered and you'd be watered.
Well, that's right. Yeah. What more do you want?
So with the Extreme Propagators, which you mentioned at the beginning, that's going to really, you've noticed a massive increase in the strike rate of the cuttings, haven't you? So
yes, very much so.
That's where we're saying that's probably give you an extra 4 or 5 days on top.
Yes.
So we're going to have to possibly look at making some adjustments and maybe trying to keep them. I don't know if it'll keep them fresher for longer because they've been grown hydroponically. It's going to be really interesting to see the differences in.
Well, the big thing we're going to do is tomatoes hydroponically for Chelsea this year.
Yeah.
That's our big thing. I'm still got reservations about root veg. We've planted some root veg, put some beetroot in now, and we found that the stems got quite long very, very quickly. So it's controlling the growth rate. And you were saying about the difference in temperatures. I think keeping the same temperature day and night is a tough one. And I think for most growers, we're going to suffer with that one.
Yeah. So what I was saying to Michael before is certain species of plants will give you different amounts of stretch. Some, you're never going to have any problems with stretch. Others, possible situations where they're going to start to stretch, and then certain varieties will just stretch no matter what. So you've got to try and give them the least amount of reason to stretch. Number one reason is get the light that you're using as close to the plant as possible without burning it, without, it can even bleach the leaves of your plant because the light is so intense. So get that Goldilocks zone for the height of the light, so that it doesn't stretch, because what the plant is going to do, it's going to see its sun all the way up there and think, I need more intensity. How do I get closer? And to get closer, it stretches.
Yeah.
The other reason is day and night temperatures, as we were talking about. So explained it. So if your temperature is 26 degrees with the lights on and 25 degrees with the lights off, there's a very small difference, and that difference you can say is maybe a centimetre stretch.
Yeah.
Daytime temperature with the lights on, 26. Lights off temperature 16. There's a massive difference, and that's going to cause the plant to stretch.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we try and keep the nighttime temperatures and the lights on temperatures as close together as possible.
Yeah.
To prevent stretching.
Yes.
But interesting side fact is that rose growers like the stretch, so they do things on purpose to actually create the stretch. So if you're a rose grower, you'll actually be doing the opposite, and you'll be having quite severe. It's quite maybe 8-9 degrees difference in temperatures because you like the roses to elongate on the internodes.
Okay.
So I think they're the only people I know that likes the stretch of the plants.
Yes.
What else? Gary, your grower. So Gary and Mark they love to do anything that they think's interesting. Yes. I think Gary's room's probably getting a little bit full now. So Mark's just saying his room's going to be a bit chocker.
Yes.
And make sure you do check out their YouTube because it's impressive.
Just get another tent.
Yeah. Well, Mark has actually just bought. I'm going to tell you a story, Mark. He moved into a new house and he said to his missus, "I've got the cedar polytunnel coming." How big is it, Mark? It's only a couple of metres by this way and a couple of metres by that way. It turned up. I think it's something like a 6 metre by 3 metre cedar greenhouse. It's turned up. I haven't seen the reaction yet, but I can imagine what that reaction is.
What's he got, Gabriel Ash?
Tell us, Mark, what type of 4 metres by 3 metres it is. What was the missus's reaction like? Because that would have been interesting.
Yeah. What make has he got?
Mark, let us know your make as well. Get that out there. So you said you used Gavitas, extreme propagators, Rockwools.
Rockwool.
You've been using Rockwools.
We started the actual seeds off in Rockwool.
Like them?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
You've used clay pebbles as well, haven't you?
Clay pebbles now.
Propagators.
Akeda greenhouse.
Akeda. I've seen cedar, like it's the bloody wood.
It's Akeda. It's Akeda. That's what's his name got? Kevin Forty.
Kevin Forty, yeah.
He's got Akeda.
A lot of these veg guys have got the Akeda greenhouses, haven't they? Are they really good quality?
It's got like it's like a bubble wrap.
I've seen it, yeah. To help insulate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't had on our allotment, we we're like, we try and salvage all bits to try and build our stuff. So we've built ours from all kinds. But the Akeda, I've seen them, yeah, very efficient. And I've seen the actual greenhouse as well. It looks lovely.
I think the new one I've got now is the most efficient though.
Go on then.
I've been given one by a hotel, and I didn't realise until I actually moved in. It's got a power supply in it.
Oh, that's nice.
And they said I could use it.
So what's that, 10
So we're getting to 20 Gavita lights off it.
I just think the restaurants will be in for a shock when they get their electricity bill, won't they?
Yeah, I know, yeah. But no, they've got swimming pools, so they shouldn't really notice the difference.
Yeah.
And the manager said, just go for it. He said, we're just happy that you're here, kind of growing with us. So, yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, can we talk about the restaurant before we finish?
Of course we can talk about restaurants.
Just all the bits that you've been using from the hydroponics industry, the tents, the Gavitas, the Rockwools. We've also used
the
AutoPots.
AutoPots.
Yeah.
We haven't really done much with AutoPot yet because we're going to put our tomatoes into them. And we're going to take tomatoes to Chelsea in the AutoPot. But what we're going to grow is we're trying. Well, we're at the design stage now. We're going to actually put the display together, similar to what we did last year, but we're going to extend it by another section. And we're putting a pagoda, and we're going to hang tomatoes upside down from the pagoda. So what you'll see is cherry tomatoes cascading inside. So that's the idea. That's the effect we're going to go at.
Yeah.
We want to put LED lights into the display, so we've got power going into the display. So we have LED lights and some propagators working. So that's where we're going with the hydroponic side, together with the tomatoes going in the AutoPots.
That's going to look awesome, that.
We're going to try.
Yeah. When the tickets for Chelsea, by the way, no matter what you do, whether you grow fruits, vegetables, herbs, anything, you need to get to Chelsea because it is the pinnacle of it's a Royal Horticultural Society show, is it?
Royal Horticultural Society. It's the pinnacle show, Chelsea.
But also, the best of the best are there, aren't they?
Yeah, but also we've got Chatsworth. Don't forget, there's a new one out, a new show in June, which is the Chatsworth show, again RHS.
Yeah.
So we're breaking down at Chelsea, and the wagons are coming down to pick everything up from Chelsea and going straight to Chatsworth.
Yeah.
So it's more or less the same display going to be at Chatsworth.
And at Tatton Park as well?
Tatton's a bit different because it's the middle of summer.
Yeah.
So it's our last show, really.
Will it be a similar display, though?
Similar display, but not as good as the Chelsea one.
Yeah.
It's going to be smaller. But at Tatton we're doing a display, aren't we, with hydroponics?
We are. Yeah.
We're going to do a big display with hydroponics in one of the marquees, so that'll be worth coming to see.
Yeah, definitely. So make sure you get your tickets and come along.
Yeah.
So what are you growing at the moment, and what sort of preparations are you doing? Because I think to a lot of people, we'll see Mark at Tatton.
Good. Gary wants to know what cherry tomato for show bench. Cherry tomato for me is all about flavour. And the one that seems to be the one that's favourite is Sun Gold. It's a yellow tomato. And for me, it is the one that I like. And right now, it's the one that has to be beaten.
Yeah. Is that the one with the most flavour?
I think so.
Yeah.
And the chefs are raving about it as well. They want that Sun Gold.
And what was it called? Sun Gold.
Sun Gold, yeah, cherry tomato. Easily available.
Gary, I want you to send me some. When you've grown them, I expect a punnet of 50 for me and the lads.
They're nice.
Yeah. We'll take them to our restaurant and just say to the chef, yeah, go on, put them on our salads for us.
Yes.
So what are you growing at the moment? What preparations are you making? Because I think a lot of people, I've probably just finished some shows and just having a little bit of a break at the moment. I know Kevin and the boys get started around end of November. Mark and Gary, when do you get started? Because we're already on our way. What are we doing?
It's easy to say what we haven't got growing. Most things are going in now to seed production. We're putting in tomatoes. Chilies are already in. We're trying to think what else we got going. We're overwintering chilies. Herbs. We're overwintering the herbs. Herbs, people do struggle to overwinter. Mm-hmm. People seem to kind of kill herbs off. And the reason they kill them off is they're left in pots and they're wet. They don't like that. So we're looking at that. We're going to...
What's your top tips for overwintering herbs?
I drag them into the polytunnel and treat them quite tough. They're a Mediterranean plant. You've got to give them Mediterranean conditions. Same as the chilies.
Yeah.
The trouble with our winters, they're so damp and horrible. So we're getting good success with that. But I'm putting a lot of focus now onto the micro veg.
Yeah.
And I just love it. And part of our display is micro veg. We do the baby veg and the micro veg. And the restaurants now are just raving after it.
Because it's full of flavour, isn't it?
It's just an impact of flavour.
Yeah. If you guys that are listening or watching don't know about micro veg and the small veg, then there's no difference in seed. It's all the exact same seed. It's just harvested a lot sooner. And what happens is instead of, I don't know, it's something that I actually
it is different seed. It is different seed.
With the micro veg?
Yeah, it's just different seed. It's a sprouting a seed and grown purely for that market.
Because when I last looked into it, if you're going to buy baby cress or baby kale, it was just a generic kale and cress seed.
We get them
harvested a lot sooner.
We get a sprouting seeds, we do. But I've been with the chef this morning on the way over. This morning we dropped off some trays of micro veg for him. We have micro leeks, and they're only an inch tall. And to be honest, his wife was there, and she was well, pull out this. I've got to take another tray tomorrow because I've nearly eaten them already. And they just bowled over by it. Yeah. And like she said, when he first met me at Tatton, he came home from Tatton all excited. He said, there's somebody actually going to do micro veg for us. We've struggled to get hold of it. So
not enough people growing it.
Not enough people growing it, and that's what we're going to start doing in a big way now.
So we want to talk a little bit, actually, because I'll forget otherwise. Before we get into some top techniques for pruning especially, and some of the techniques that you use, the restaurant that you're working with, because this is big. We're doing, and it's big for the hydroponics industry as well, because the problem that we have is that staunch traditional growers think that compost and pots and organics and earth-grown veg, hydroponics is this weird black arts science that...
Well, it's not the black art. It's basically hydroponics is treated as the method that the supermarkets are using to fill the trays full of veg. And the trouble is, a lot of stuff you buy from the supermarket is totally flavourless.
Yeah.
And our aim next year is to prove that food grown hydroponically can have the same flavour as food grown traditionally in compost.
Can we talk about the test?
We're doing it with quite a decent chef.
Yeah.
He's I think, personally, the chef I'm lucky to be working with is the best in the world, and that's Raymond Blanc.
Yeah.
He is absolute gem. He's a lovely guy to work with, and it's a pleasure to work with him, to be quite honest.
So the test that we're doing, we're actually going to be using AutoPots, aren't we?
Using AutoPot. We're going to have polytunnel set up in St Asaph. We're going to have roughly 40 AutoPots set up. and 40 traditional pots set up with compost.
Yeah.
Exactly the same tomato, grown exactly the same way, one hydroponically, one grown in compost. And it'll be a blind test. And a load of them are going down to Le Manoir. He wants to work on creating a tomato that is really full of flavour. Different colour tomatoes. We're looking at browns, oranges, white tomatoes, red tomatoes, to make the salad look more attractive. So, because you eat with your eyes as well
You do.
And I was talking to a chef this morning, and like he said, when you go for a meal, your memory lasts longer. For visual memory, lasts longer than your taste memory. You remember what it looked like. Can you remember what it tastes like?
It was either good or bad.
It was either good or bad. But when you actually see it, your eyes send that picture to your brain, and it's fixed there. So something that looks attractive is the first thing you'll do.
I know a lot of restaurants actually use different coloured plates because the colour of the plate can actually influence how you rate the meal.
That's right.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think a meal on a blue plate wasn't very attractive.
Black is though.
But black
and
possibly
white,
green and white, all really good plates.
Yeah.
What feed nutrients are you using, guys? So
to be honest, the ones I've been using so far are MaxiCrop. I've used MaxiCrop so far. Remember, I'm new into hydroponics, so I haven't gone down the hydroponic route an awful lot yet.
Well, we're just coaching them at the moment, James.
So I'm at the learning stage with hydroponics.
It's a two-way learning street, isn't it? Because we need our fruit knowledge to be improved.
We do use an awful lot of both calcified seaweed and liquid seaweed. So we've used some Shropshire seaweed, which is a liquid. Good results with that.
Yeah.
We find better root growth using seaweed. We do use bloodfish and blown in our mixes that we make with compost. We do use slow release fertilizers, the high K ones normally.
Yeah.
What else do we use?
You told me
rock
before
dust.
About you've used rock dust,
yeah,
and you've used mycore giant veg, the beneficial bacteria.
Yes, we use that as well.
And I've got to give a shout out because he's a good friend. That's from Kevin 40. So that's the mycore giant veg.
Yes, we use that.
And you were impressed with that, weren't you?
Very impressed with that. Yeah, no problem at all with that.
Good product.
Yeah.
Anything else that you've been using?
Trying to think anything else. The big one's seaweed, bloodfish and bone.
These are the traditional nutrients that you've been using, aren't
yes.
they? So when we come to do growing hydroponically, because it's in AutoPots, we don't really want to be feeding these really thick organics through the lines, although you can if we wanted to feed through the top. We're going to be feeding organics. I think we're probably going to be using some biotabs, little discs, go in the AutoPots and do work really well.
What was Princess Anne like? Chris Henry?
Yeah.
That day was unreal. Princess Anne arrived at our display at Malvern. We didn't really know it was Princess Anne coming. The only thing is we arrived there at 8 o'clock the morning at Malvern, and security were in with dogs. And I remember walking in, and they had one security guard that just looked like Daniel Craig, who was just spitting image. And I remember shouting across to Alison, I said, whoever's coming here must be bloody important because they sent James Bond down here. So I was on the stage doing a talk at 10:30 that morning. And just as I finished on the stage, I said to the audience, I says, I've got to shoot off. I says, a VIP's coming to meet me. And I says, and by the look of it, I think it's Princess Anne. Well, they just burst out laughing. They thought I was joking, but it was actually Princess Anne. So I ran back to I walked quickly back to my stand, shall I say. And just that moment, she arrived, and her slot was 3 minutes with us. Yeah. So she was only allowed to be with me for 3 minutes. 27 minutes later, the security were dragging her away from me because we were laughing and joking for the whole time. We had a whale of a time. Because I said to her, how are you enjoying your day at Malvern? She says, how can you enjoy a day with this lot behind you? And it was all the security and our press lot. Yeah. I said, oh, you should come with us. I said, the first thing we sort out is the PIMS tent. And we make sure that we're happy before we start. You can't come here and be miserable, I said. Well, she started laughing with us, didn't she? Yeah. So she was with us for a long time, and they had to drag her away. It was absolutely superb. The best time I've ever had, actually.
Yeah, and you spoke very well of Anne. And then people have got this thing about the royal family, but you said she was really personable. And
they're really great. Yeah. Really lovely person, Princess Anne. She's a credit to the country. Credit to the country. We should be proud that we've got them.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What questions have we got there? So, growing techniques, and send in all your questions. By the way, we can cut my questions out if you guys have got questions. So make sure that you message and send them through. Pruning techniques. So, pruning super important. What techniques are you using?
The first one that I was introduced to a couple of years, it must be 3 years ago now, was air pruning the roots. And do you know something? That is the best thing we've ever done. Does generate much stronger root growth. Then the roots are then looking for the nutrients, and we're getting a better result. The one memory that I've got that sticks in my mind was when we first used air pots, and we were doing leeks for tapping, and we planted the leeks up traditionally in traditional 45-litre pots in compost, and also in air pots, 20-litre air pot. Went to harvest first of all out of the traditional pots, and the root ball just pulled straight out, no problem at all. We just actually pulled the actual leek and the whole thing came out, no problem at all. Cleaned them up, but I was short of one, so I went to the air pots because that's the only ones I had left, and pulled the air pot, but it wouldn't come out. So we unwrapped the air pot to find it was just a mass of roots, and definitely it had done its job.
Yeah.
And that was within a couple of months.
Yeah.
Amazed the results we had from it.
So the way they work, for any guys or girls that haven't used air pots or a root pruning pot, we have two types: air pots. They look like a bit like a strange gothic shade, don't they? They've got all these dimples on the outside, and we have cloth pots as well. So air pots or cloth pots, the root tries to escape from the pot. As soon as it does, it is air pruned off.
Yeah.
And what that means is, instead of within those plastic pots, the root hits the outside and starts to circle, and really, essentially, it strangles the root ball. These roots try and penetrate the pot. They get air pruned off, and they produce 3 or 4 new root tips, and they grow outwards, and then they get pruned off, and they produce. So essentially, it's like topping your plants because the roots produce more roots.
Yeah.
And like you say, at the end of it, you try and pull this plant out. You unwrap the pot, and it's just a massive root tips.
Yeah, the filament roots.
And that's exactly where all your nutrients and your water's been absorbed, not by a little mass chain of roots, by the root tips.
Somebody's asked, Stefan's asked, what do I think of the actual fabric pots? This is the first time we're using the fabric pots this year, so I can't really say much on them yet.
Yeah.
We do know that air pruning does work. How it'll compare, I don't know. I planted up my leeks yesterday into air pots for the first stage. We're putting them straight into, I think it's 2.5 litre pot.
I quite like the cloth pots, to be honest, personally. When I've had side-by-sides done, because they're both root pruning pots, I wanted to see which one's better, and I wouldn't call it a proper test. It's by no way means that my opinion is correct. It just means that when I done my particular test, 4 plants on cloth pots, 4 plants on air pots, the ones in the cloth pots just looked a little bit healthier, a little bit better. I don't know if that was because of my specific technique of bottom feeding. It was better because they were cloth pots. Maybe if you use drippers, the air pots might be better, or if you top fed, they might be better. Each to their own, I'd say. Rather than listen to other people's opinions on them, just take 4 cloth pots, 4 root pruning pots or air pots, and do the test yourself. Use your method of growing and see which one works best for you, because they are both really good pots. You're not going to go wrong with choosing one over the other. It's just what's better for your specific style of growing.
That's right.
What else did I want to ask? If there are growers listening and they fancy a go at growing some fruit, what plants would you recommend for the beginner? So somebody who's tuned in today because they're fancy getting into doing a bit of growing, what is an easy fruit plant or vegetable plant for them to go?
You've got to ask the question, what do you like?
Yeah.
That's the first. There's no point growing fruit that you don't like.
Yeah. And you're not going to eat at the end.
I'm not going to eat at the end. So the first thing is, what do you like? Personally, from an ease of point of view, I think black currants are the easiest thing to grow.
Okay.
Out of them all.
Yeah.
And then you go on
and
to
super tasty as well.
They're super tasty, cram full of vitamin C. So for families out there, if you're feeding the kids, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's an easy crop, and it's reliable. Come back every year, the same for you. That's the start point. Gooseberries. Oh, I've gone into liking gooseberries. Everybody says, I hate gooseberries. They're so sharp. If you leave them on the bush until the middle of, or the early July, middle of July, they go really sweet.
Yeah.
Very, very sweet.
So if you just harvest them a little bit too early, that's where the tartness comes from.
That's where the tartness comes from. So yeah, that's a good one. Gooseberries are easy to grow. You have got one problem with gooseberries, and that is the sawfly. Sawfly just love goose gogs, and they decimate the leaves on them.
Any organic, natural ways of keeping them at bay, other than using a net, because you can buy these fruit net cage nets.
Yeah, they still won't keep the sawfly off. The sawfly flies through that, and it comes up from the soil as well. We do use some sprays, and we found success using different sprays. The big one, SB Plant Invigorator, we use that. But I think the main thing is put it in an open spot. It's not sheltered. If it's in an open spot, the wind will push the actual fly past it.
Yeah.
It likes to be in a well-ventilated, good airflow.
Okay. And what would you recommend for the more skilled cultivator? The person who's been growing the fruits and the veg and possibly getting a little bit
Getting a bit cocky.
What can they step up to?
Try the citrus.
The citrus fruits. Would that be right in saying that's your speciality?
I love citrus.
Yeah.
I took a cracking orange tree to Chelsea last year, and believe it or not, I pulled it back into the polytunnels, and it's covered in fruit again. So it might be going on this trip down to London again for Chelsea again.
Next year.
Looks that way.
Is that so on your website, you sell a lot of fruit trees, don't you?
Yeah, fruit is what we've set up because I looked at the whole market and there wasn't many people doing fruit. So we thought we'll specialise in fruit and see how it goes.
Yeah.
But we are now doing our own range of seeds for vegetable growers as well.
Yeah. Which
is called the Gourmet Selection.
Yeah.
So it's been just set up now. And as soon as January comes, the seeds will be available.
Okay. What type of people are buying these? Is it everybody and anybody?
Anybody
can buy these fruit trees off you?
Yeah.
Easy to look after.
Very easy.
Just as long because they've had a great start in life.
Very easy to look after.
Yeah. So don't be fooled. They can be pretty easy.
Yeah.
Top tips for growing fruits. It looked like I was just doing some really moody pose into the camera.
Yeah. He was trying to read. The trouble is, your eyesight starts to go after a certain age, and the list is there.
I don't say that. It was my birthday last week.
How old are you?
I tried to keep it under wraps, and then they Rick put bloody birthday boy on the screen.
How old were you?
I was 29 last
29. I wish I was 29 again.
No, but you see, as the years get you, my eyes are going now.
It's unusual to find growers that young, actually.
I know we're bringing a youthful
get the new generation
into the horticulture industry.
We need to get everybody really pushing to the giant veg for next year. That's what we really need to do. Have some fun and make Malvern a real show of celebration. And we all go down there, everybody, and have a go. It must be something somebody fancies having a grow at.
Yeah, I reckon we need to put
That's a good question. Do you grow fruit trees in air pots? Yes, I do. And I find that the results are fantastic.
Yeah. Much better than the plastic container pots.
Oh, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
No, I've just planted 2 boysenberries and 2 Caraca blackberries in air pots for Chelsea next year, and they look so good, and they're full of leaf now, and they're growing while everything else is starting to be draggled for the winter. And these 2 plants look stunning.
I forgot to mention as well before about the air pots or the cloth pots. It's the amount of oxygen getting to the root zone.
It's vital.
It's one of the most important points. Oxygen to the root zone.
The root trees are phenomenal. Now I did go down last November down to a company down in Hereford who supply all the raspberries for all the big supermarkets, and I was surprised when we went into, and they had acres of raspberries growing, and every one was in a pot. You automatically think they'd be in the ground. No. And the drip feed system, feeding the roots. And they said, why feed the ground? It's got no roots in it. Yeah. You're wasting your feed.
Yeah. So I can see a lot of people moving over to the technology that the hydroponics industry has been using for a very long time. I think it's just, we need to break that barrier of people thinking that it's like I said, the black arts before, or the dark science of growing these fruits in a science lab, or growing these vegetables in a science lab. We can be just as organic, and we can be just as wholesome as something that's grown in the air.
You can still mix it 50-50. You don't have to go totally hydroponic.
Yeah.
You can put compost in as well, if that's what you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to go the whole hog. You can see what suits you best.
Slow transitions.
Yeah. Take your time.
And the main benefits as well of growing them indoors is that less pest and disease. It's like you said, they use it. The gooseberries are getting attacked by the flies. You're much less likely to get that sort of invasion if you grow it indoors.
That's why I like pots, because you can pick it up and you can do something with it. Last week we had aphids in the tent, and the big cause, we had red spider mite, we had green fly and black fly, all there, bang. And it got to the stage where we're doing it gently, we're using SB and everything, still problems. And last week, the big guns came out. I don't know if you ever heard of the chemical Topel.
No.
Topel 10. It is a commercial spray. Oh, it bloody worked. It worked. And safe to use on the plants. Plants don't take it in. But because we're using it for show, our crop isn't going to be eaten.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter if it's organic or not. I want the plants to be safe.
Yeah.
So that's why we use Topol in the actual tent.
Okay.
And it did work.
Yeah.
So,
but for crops that are going to be edible, you wouldn't use it.
But you see, the commercial growers are using it. I was talking to one grower last week, Jim Thompson, who's a big mate of mine, lives in South Wales, and cracking grower. And he said that what frightens him is lettuces are sprayed 24 hours before pulling against green fly, white fly, aphids. So the plants are going free of aphids to the stores, but you're eating them. That's what's happening.
You need to, if you're using pesticides, fungicides, one of the things you need to look at is the harvest interval. And what that means is how many days do you have to leave it after spraying your pesticide, fungicide, before it's safe to be eaten. So something with a 0-day harvest interval means you could spray it today and consume tomorrow. It's going to be fine. Something with a 2-week harvest interval, you have to spray 2 weeks before you're actually eating and washing and harvesting. And you know what? It's a great point of why everybody should wash every single piece of fruit and vegetable really thoroughly before consuming, especially all the supermarket stuff. The best point is just grow your own, because we don't know what's being sprayed on our fruit and veg.
Growing your own is definitely a thing you should do. One thing I'm trying to get people to do is salad bowls. AutoPot do a seed tray, perfect for growing salads in, and put lettuce in. Have 2 or 3 of them growing at different intervals, and do a cutting them again salad. It's so much easier. Why go to the supermarket when you can grow it yourself? Yeah,
exactly. And the other point that I wanted to make as well is that you mentioned grow the fruit that you enjoy to eat,
of course,
and that you like.
Yeah.
The other point to make is that if you've got young kids and you're having problems with them eating new foods, we call it food neophobia. They don't really like new stuff, and they're hesitant to eat it, such as your broccolis, any types of any pretty much any healthy food, anything that's green, sprouts.
Yeah.
Then it's proven.
Give them a chilli.
No, don't do it unless they've been naughty. Get them to grow their own fruit or veg, and I guarantee you that in the studies that I've read and that I've done, 90% of the kids that grew their own fruit or veg then consume that fruit and veg, even if they grew Brussels sprouts, because they've put it in as a seed, they give it the water, the nutrients, and they've watched it grow, they've watched the fruit or the vegetables form. Yeah. What are they going to do at the end? They're going to go, no, I don't like that. It never happens. They pick it off and they eat it and they go, oh, that's really interesting. And if they pick it and eat it and go, I don't quite like that, then they probably don't like it. But more often than not, they pick it and eat it and go, that's really interesting, that. And it's the end to the story of them growing the fruit and veg. Yeah. Then when they go to the stores and they see broccoli or they see Brussels sprouts, they go, oh, look, Mum or Dad, I grew that. Is that going to taste the same? You go, no, you keep on growing yours because it tastes much better than the supermarket stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
What's 2017 got planned for you?
Well, we're starting up a new grow club in North Wales, so everybody's invited down to it in the Oriel House Hotel in St Asaph. And that's the first Wednesday. Is it the first Wednesday of every month?
Wednesday of every month.
So we're having that, where people can actually buy the composts, buy the seeds.
Yeah.
The propagators will all be there.
Got your knowledge.
Oh, I wouldn't go for that. But we've got speakers coming. We've got Bathgate Compost going to come to the first one in December and introduce himself and introduce his range of composts, which he's got. And anybody can buy the professional quality compost from him, so no problem at all. He'll do exactly what you want. He'll actually change the mixes for us, which is incredible what we can get from Bathgate. So they're coming down. Then NPK are going to come down next year, and with a range of hydroponic gear and show how we can grow hydroponically. We've got 2 tunnels behind the hotel, which we're going to have full of vegetables growing.
That's where we're doing our organic versus
So
hydroponic
we're doing all the
tests.
tests down there. You're more than welcome to come along to that, and we can have a look and see what we're growing, and we'll trial through the year. So you can actually taste the vegetables yourselves if you come down.
If anyone is interested in a North Wales meeting, that's the first Wednesday of every month.
Yeah.
Is there any details for them to have a look at, or is that going to be put up in the next few weeks?
We'll put it up in the next few days on the NPK website. So if you want to come down, we can all kind of learn from everybody else's experiences of growing and how we grow together. Everybody's welcome.
Cool.
No matter what you grow, come along.
Well, I'll put it up on the website, on this NPK Live website for people, the Facebook page for people to get the information from if they fancy travel up to that. And what shows are, we know we've got Chelsea in May. Super excited for Chelsea because we are winning gold.
We're going to have a go for it. We like shiny medals, don't we?
We do.
We do like shiny medals.
magpies.
Well, the thing is, the worst I've ever had is silver gilt.
The worst.
The worst I've ever had is silver gilt. I got 4 of them now, and I got a gold medal.
It's alright. He's still alive.
I've got a gold medal from Southport a couple of times, but I've never had gold yet from the RHS. And to get gold for living plants is hard.
Okay.
Because the plants automatically are starting to go over. When a plant grows, automatically you get brown leaves. But even just the slightest aphid attack, they knock you back for that. It's a mark off. So it's very difficult. So we're aiming for that gold medal, and we'd love to get it. It'd make it worth a while then.
Yeah.
So working as the team, I think we've got for next year. I think we'll go for it.
We have got. Well, I call you my
secret weapon.
My Welsh secret weapon.
My Welsh, and we got another one down in
Nottingham.
Yeah.
He's my Nottingham secret weapon.
Yeah.
You best watch out for all of our secret weapons because we're coming.
But he's just a wealth of knowledge. I remember meeting Gareth for the first time. It was the Edible Garden show down at, where was it? It was Stoneleigh.
Yeah, Stoneleigh Park.
That's it. I went down there, and Kevin was there on the display, and Kevin introduced me to Gareth. And Gareth started talking to me about nanotechnology and everything. And within 10 minutes, he'd lost me completely. And I glazed over. And I spent the next 3 days trying to avoid him in the show. It's like, is Gareth over there? I'll go this way. So I was trying to avoid him for 3 days. I was like, oh, God, I won't get into that conversation again. And who turned up but Raymond Blanc's son, Ollie. Yeah. I thought, it'll shut him up. So I took Ollie to meet Gareth, and I thought, I'll just drop him off there. I thought, that's what you get for being a naughty boy.
Yeah, his mind's well blown by Gareth.
Oh, completely blown, yeah. So Gareth has got this wealth of knowledge, which is incredible, but he's infectious. The thing is, when you get past that, he's one of the most nicest guys you'll ever meet. He's a cracking guy.
Before we put our secret weapon on the podcast, you may get to meet him one day if you're very lucky. He was at AutoPot, so if you're at AutoPot, you'll have had the chance to meet Gareth. He is our secret weapon. Maybe we might bring him on to a podcast one day, and you can ask him all of your questions.
Yeah,
he seems to know everything about everything, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a clever guy, that's for sure.
The RHS though, Tatton, and the new one, Chatsworth.
We're going to go to Harrogate Spring, not to do a display, purely to sell product.
Yeah.
Then Malvern Spring to sell product. Then the week after, we're going straight down to Chelsea to construct the display at Chelsea. From there, it's going over to Chatsworth. Then we got a month off to pull ourselves together, and then the last show of the season for us showing is going to be Tatton. But I think we should have a go at doing some giant reg for Malvern Autumn.
I think we should as well. I think everybody listening should have a little dabble.
I do fancy doing a trug again. I missed it this year. I didn't do it this year because I thought it's unfair to be competing at Chelsea with some of the best growers and competing on the amateur bench. But everybody said that they missed my display at Malvern, my trug of veg that I normally do. And I've won the national championships 4 years on the trot.
So I bet you there's a lot of people really excited that you're not going, or potentially not
well,
going to do one
they
this
didn't
year.
know last year. I didn't pre-warn them. And the guy that actually put the display up and won it, he said, it's all right until Mike comes along with his. Because I got about 75 different types of veg growing for that. I usually do 2 polytunnels full just to get that display. You know these mushroom boxes of
Yeah.
veg? We used to take 75 of them full of veg to one trug. So
How long does it take you to put these displays together?
we used to get to Malvern 9 o'clock at night, the night before the show.
Yeah.
And we finished at 6 o'clock in the morning putting the trug together. We were absolutely knackered.
I can imagine. And then you've got a full day
Well,
of
the
showing.
thing is, I was one year, we were doing it, and I'd set everything up. I was in my scruffs, put everything together. Then I forgot I had my exam in the morning. I was going to be a judge for NBS. I was doing my judge's exam. So we went to the car, I said, I'll just get an hour's kip to Alison, so we sat for an hour. Then I got changed. I just got changed out, open the door, just got changed outside. And I realised I didn't have a belt for my trousers. Oh, jeez, what am I going to do? So I was going through my box of goodies. I thought, I'll use zip ties. So I made a belt out of zip ties. So I was doing my judge's exam with a belt with the zip ties going
You could have made out of one really long runner bean.
Perfect. I thought, it's so handy, isn't it?
What about the runner bean? Just one long runner bean tied in a knot.
It'd be perfect, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Well, it sounds like a really busy year for 2017, but
we've got to enjoy it, though, haven't we?
yeah, definitely. And I'm really excited about everything that's coming. If you want to keep up to date, you're a massive fan of Twitter, aren't you? So
Yeah.
whenever Michael's doing anything of interest for you guys, he normally puts tweets up on Twitter. So what's your Twitter account? Tom Smith Plants.
Isn't
Tom
it?
Smith Plants. So get him on Twitter if you're interested in following him. And if you want to see us parading around Chelsea like peacocks, you need to get on our Instagram as well. We'll be putting it all up there.
Well, personally, if we don't get gold, it's your fault. And if I do get gold, it's my...
Listen, I'm happy with that because I ain't leaving that Chelsea show unless we've got gold. I'll say to that Princess Anne, listen, you got to help our mate
The
get
Queen
gold.
comes to Chelsea. The Queen
I'll
comes
tell
to-
her as well.
we had all the celebs last year. We had Twiggy came to our stand last year.
Yeah.
And who's the guy with motorbikes? Charlie Boardman that was with Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
He turned up and he was in a wheelchair, fallen off his bike. So he had an accident with his bike somewhere in deepest Europe somewhere. So he turned up in a wheelchair. So he was with us for a good half an hour.
Yeah.
So what did Alison had Twiggy, and who did I end up with? Sort of think who I had. Who's on the holiday program? Judith Chalmers.
Yeah.
I had Judith Chalmers, and Alison had Twiggy. Well, that was a bit wrong. But there we are.
A good event though.
Cracking day.
And looking forward to
Cracking
next
weekend.
year.
You don't stop thinking about it. You're always, even Christmas dinner, what will the topic of conversation be? Chelsea.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
why we're going to win gold, because it's a passion and obsession, isn't it?
It's got to be.
Listen, if you guys watching and listening, our thing for you this week is grow some giant veg. There's plenty of Facebook pages to peruse and to get so much information. You've got the guys, Kevin Forsey and his giant veg. You've got Mark and Gary, Geordie giant veg, Mark's allotment. You've got Tom Smith Plants. There's so much that there's just no excuse really for not even getting out there and doing some growing.
Well, give it a go. You have to start somewhere. And we're there to help. Don't be intimidated by it. We do have good fun doing it as well.
Do you know what we're going to do? We're going to do a because we always do a Christmas prize giveaway for all of our followers and listeners. We'll do a beginner's kit. So anybody that wants to get involved, and I can't think off the top of my head how we're going to get them to do this, but I'm going to think of something. I'm going to put it on the Facebook NPK Live page, and I'm going to come up with a competition. And then you've got no excuse then, because you can have the system, the feed, and a little bit of knowledge as well.
I think we should talk to Malvern Show and see if we can do a novice section somewhere.
Yeah.
And get the people who competed for the first time that are following you.
Yeah.
And get a special prize from NPK.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. Are we going to sort that out?
We'll sort that out.
Okay.
We'll go for it.
So there you go. You've even got a competition to get into now.
Yeah.
Start doing your research and your learning. And there's so much, Mark. Competition. The novice competition, not for you, Mark. So you're out of that one.
It's going to be totally novice.
Yeah.
Somebody that's never won an award before at any of the shows.
Yeah.
And we're going to support it and go for it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
If you want to see more pictures, tomsmithplants.com. You can see it on the bottom there. Thank you very much for joining us once again. If you think it's going to be beneficial to any of your mates, friends, family, give us a share. And all I've got left to say is thank you very much for joining me.
Great,
on
thank you very
episode
much.
90 of the podcast. And hopefully you can sign me off without me rabbiting on. And that's it done. So you've been live. that'll be done.